And Zen is an exhaling practice. So if you let your breath naturally descend into your belly, do we need closer?
We did.
Let's do a mic check. How's that sound? Is that better? Okay? Okay, good. So let your breath naturally just go down into your belly and wait until the gift of the next breath comes. That's all. Just wait. And then the breath comes by itself. And if you need an image, imagine you're a cat purring. So you know what a cat is like when it's purring. Very content. So just 1 minute. In one of the books I wrote, Buddha in Blue Jeans, it's called An Extremely Short and Simple Guide to Being Buddha. And in there, it's really a very short book on meditation. And it's very permissive. It doesn't matter how long you meditate for. It doesn't matter really too much how you sit, as long as you're comfortable and your breath is free to move in your body. And it certainly doesn't matter what you believe or think about God, because it's not about anything you think. I guess the most important thing I've learned from my teachers, of which there have been many Zen teachers, is that the great silence is a place of refuge, spirit, love, transcendence, far beyond our thinking, far beyond our analytic minds. And we could probably pile our degrees in this room up to the moon. It won't save us. In fact, it probably might not open the sacred doors to the God of your understanding. So what do we do if we want a deep spiritual life? So I've written a poem just for you, since writing has been my path to teaching for about 15 years now. I had a lifetime of doing this, and then I said, you know what, I don't wear black anymore, I don't wear dark colors anymore, I shave my head, I grow my hair, I have a beard, I don't have a beard, you know. And so I kind of set myself free at the encouragement of my Zen masters to use writing as a way of teaching the Dharma, the way of all a Zen teacher does, it's one thing, doesn't matter what they say, it's the same thing. It's to encourage you, that's it. That's it. My only job is to encourage you to dive as deep as you can inside and wait for grace. There's nothing we can do to make grace happen. We can wait in deep stillness. Sometimes something wakes up, something. So I have a poem. It's only 8 stanzas. It's specifically written for you. I have copies. I'm going to read it twice, so you don't have to get all antsy about what I'm saying the first time through. And I'm not going to pass them out now, though, because I don't want to hear rustling paper. And I want you to respond internally to the poetry. This is called Drowning in Astonishment for the Salish Sea Fellowship. And I did have a little chuckle, you know. Drowning is just something spiritually quite wonderful. I was once drowning spiritually, and I was in what you would call free fall, and one Zen teacher, dear friend, a Zen master, founder of a Sangha, said, "Stay there." We want to climb out, we want to grab on, we want to make something happen, we want to understand. The hardest thing is to let it all fall apart. And the hardest thing to let fall apart is our self-identity. Maybe this poem will speak to you. You can hear me okay? Yeah, just raise your hand if you can't, or say something. Yeah. Welcome to the Zen circle of fresh beginnings and non-attainment. Already you are Buddhas, whole and one with everything, beyond past and future, beyond here and there, beyond inside and outside, beyond me and you. If you have forgotten the essence of emptiness beneath the names for God, consider sitting quietly in the great silence. Rise and fall with your breath, a sacred abode for meeting, living and dying, breathing and moving, love and grace. Your problems? We all are broken and self-centered. Those tigers will devour us unless we welcome them. Consider awakening Buddha's big mind by emptying yourself out and dropping self-identity. Consider indiscriminately loving the world and making an offering of your life. Let's drown in the astonishment of each thing flashing into existence and in the beauty of the Salish Sea. Salmon, eagles, orcas, cedars and rhododendrons, the sun, the moon, the stars, infinite blue and green. What's the most important thing? Let's center our fellowship. Sorry, I'm having a moment. Thought I'd survive this poem. Sometimes you write something and you don't even know what you've done until you read it. Let's center our fellowship in love and prayer and be friends in not knowing, sharing warm hands and smiles. Thank you for listening so attentively. So now I'll repeat it, okay? Okay. Drowning in astonishment. Welcome to the Zen circle of fresh beginnings and non-attainment. Already you are Buddhas, whole and one with everything. Beyond past and future, beyond here and there, beyond inside and outside, beyond me and you. If you have forgotten the essence of emptiness beneath the names for God, consider sitting quietly in the great silence. Rise and fall with your breath, a sacred abode for meeting living and dying, breathing and moving, love and grace. Your problems? We are all broken and self-centered. Those tigers will devour us unless we welcome them. Consider awakening Buddha's big mind by emptying yourself out and dropping self-identity. Consider indiscriminately loving the world and making an offering of your life. Let's drown in the astonishment of each thing flashing into existence and in the beauty of the Salish Sea. Salmon, eagles, orcas, cedars and rhododendrons, the sun, the moon, the stars, infinite blue and green. What's the most important thing? Let's center our fellowship in love and prayer and be friends in not knowing, sharing warm hands and smiles. That's my talk. I won't go home, though. Now, maybe that touched you in some way, or stimulated a feeling, or a thought, or a notion, or a question. And I'm at my very best when we can meet each other in dialogue. So I'm going to just welcome. I mean, I can take off and extrapolate, but I would much rather just welcome. And I have how many minutes now, Terry, my time period? I passed out?
That's all right.
It's okay.
That's okay. Why don't you take another 10 minutes, though, at least?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, I went past the amount of time I had?
No.
No. Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay. Does somebody have something they want to say? Question? Answer? State?
We need,
Didn't you go on? Turn it on.
it is on.
Is it on?
Somebody got something? That was a mouthful. The whole treasury of Buddhism was in that eight lines.
So the world is a flame, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you personally deal with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, before I answer that, how do you find that affects your own spiritual practice?
Not so much because I don't want to get too far. Not so much because I really don't want to go down to things I have no control over.
Okay.
I limit what I can do.
Okay.
No, can you put his microphone up?
Yeah, here? Yeah, absolutely. How's that? Better?
He's slipping down.
Is this better?
Yes.
Oh, good. So, the worlds of flame, how does that affect my spiritual practice? So, I'm going to wander with that. The world has always been a flame. Always. There is no such thing as a world that isn't a flame, that doesn't have pestilence, disease, war, hatred, anger, confusion, harm, and in the Buddhist metaphor, birth, old age, disease, and death. That's our condition. That's our fundamental condition already. And that is the soil of spirituality. So when I'm driving into Port Townsend yesterday and numerous people were expressing their beliefs, red, white, and blue, and signs for Trump, I went through that and had a big reaction. And I watched myself. And it was 50 years ago, I would have yelled out the window. But it's not 50 years ago. And I've been trained, and some of the time I'm not stupid. And I thought, what have I learned? Equanimity is really important. Not taking sides is really important. Doesn't mean I don't speak up for what I believe in, but not taking sides by making people other. And then understanding the causes and conditions of maybe more than half, maybe all of us are dispossessed. And we're angry and upset. We've lost our way. It's not just them. So if I take them on the surface, I react superficially. But if I see it as a kernel of trying to fathom my own spiritual practice, I say, oh boy, the last 30, 40 years have created a culture that's half of the people feel very dispossessed, and the other half maybe are feeling dispossessed. I don't know. We're all confusion. So rather than go to some pragmatic solution to all this, I take it as fodder, as grist for my own personal mill of how do I find peace in the midst of chaos? How do I find compassion in the midst of chaos? And the hardest thing to do is to take a person or persons who spew hatred and divisiveness and insanity and illness, and to know I have every single one of those things in me. I don't get off the hook that easy by just keeping it out there and projecting my own dark side. Some of you know Jung, work with your inner shadow. This is deep spiritual work. The two parts of spiritual work are waking up to God, to Buddha, Muhammad, whomever, waking up to your own deep Godhead. The other half is working your karma and developing your character. That's far harder. That's harder. If you sit around long enough praying, one day you're going to maybe have some deep thing go on in you, somehow, something. But it takes a serious commitment and act of will to say, I'm going to sort myself out. I'm going to look at all my bad habits. That never ends. And you got to work out of the shame, you got to work out of the guilt, you got to work out of your stuff. Be very gentle with yourself and say, you know what? I'm just human, and I like to do this. This is my way. And a deep spiritual practice is independent of everything. Everything. You know, it's just something you pick up. And in Buddhism, we have this notion that you need three things. You need Buddha, or which stands symbolically, you could say the Godhead. You need the law, the Dharma, which you could say is the truth of the Gospels even. And you need the Sangha, which is the fellowship of people. Without those three, it's a three-legged stool. It ain't going to work. And I have to say, I'm very honored. I've been a little mouse in my hole. Ever since I got here, I do a little this and that, but this is the first time in 15 years I've spoken of these matters. I write about them. I practice. Every morning I get up, I sit for an hour or two. I mean, this is what I do. But I wanted to come here just be another guy on the block. So, and I am another guy on the block, but this is a love of mine, these deep spiritual inquiry. So, okay, enough of that. Next, somebody else have something?
Thank you for your poem.
You're welcome.
For a moment I was Buddha. But
You still are.
no. It's practical non-duality. I live in a dualistic world, like you said,
Right.
the virtue and the non-virtue, the sacred and the non-sacred.
Yeah.
And the struggle I have is not the meditation. It's not the period of time that I can give to myself. It's living in a dualistic world where my brain makes me really a non-Buddha.
Well, you know, it's a little esoteric, but there's a wonderful saying about this. We say an awakened mind is like a pregnant mother. Is she the baby? Is she herself? Who is she? Think about it. Well, wait a minute. She's not exactly just the mother, right? But she's not exactly the baby either. So we say sometimes not one, unity, not two, duality. One famous Zen master in the 30s referred to it as noble duality. How interesting. You're in that chair, and I'm on this seat. But I'm in that chair, and you're on this seat. Oh, think about it. Something else.
Tai, thinking about the environment in our current condition in the world, a favorite mentor of mine is Henry David Thoreau. And he was asked to get involved with a movement at one point to save a river that was going to be dammed. And he said, "Who hears the fish's cries?" So that's my question to you.
Wonderful Chinese story is of a master Taoist sitting by a pond. And a young boy comes up, and there's goldfish in the pond. This is a fish story. And the young boy says, "Master, who are you really?" And he says, "I am the fish." And the boy says, "You're not the fish." And the master says, "Since you're not me, you don't know that I'm not the fish." Thank you. We must be one with nature. We must love nature. Nature is everything. And how do we care for Gaia? What a great question. Joanna Macy wrote a seminal work, Earth is Lover, Earth is Self, back in the 60s. And Buddhists, of course, are often promoting causes and helping. Say at Green Gulch Farm, we had to rework the river so the salmon could spawn again, you know. So we make our best effort in a world on fire. That's all we can do. Very famous Zen master, well, forget his fame isn't important. An important guy I talked to once during the Nigerian famine. Millions and millions of people were starving. And it was a time, I was in my young 40s, I think. I was very, very sympathetic and sensitized to the suffering of the world, which is something you go through in a spiritual practice. You wake up, you just feel the suffering acutely, you don't get off. And I said to him, "Roshi, I'm so upset." And in that tradition, they sit like this. You don't know if anything you said landed. So he had an iron, what we call an iron jaw, and poor English. And after a while, he said to me, "You can only do a little bit." That turned my life, because I was too smart for my own good. At the time, I was psychologically inflated. I wanted to do big things for a lot of people. Boy, if I could do little things for just one person, I am so happy these days. So, somewhere between here and there is making our best effort and killing one of the most important psychological demons there is, which is perfectionism. I would wish that for all of you. It'll never be perfect, but it's plenty good enough, especially if you come from your heart and your innate prajna, your innate intuitive wisdom. You are so wise when you listen to the bigger parts of yourself that aren't just this gray matter that we inherited and want to use for everything. You know, no. There's other kinds of deep, deep wisdom that arises in our body, our heart, and our intuitive centers. And I got a notice that I'm out of time, so I'll thank you very much. And I guess we'll just end. And is there some question? Now that there's something else I'm doing?
Yeah, later, after the break.
Okay, after the break I'm doing something. I don't know what. I think I'm doing more questions than answers. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for listening. And these will be somewhere up in the table or wherever you like to put them. Okay.
Please join me in our closing words, which you will find printed in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the loving joy of being freely together. We carry that joy until we meet again.